Hey guys, I'm OrigamiSage, and in this video I'll teach you how to fold Origami Ryujin designed by Kamiya Satoshi. This is how the model looks like. And this is actually a final thing you'll see at the end of the shaping video today. This video will be sectioned into three parts. First part being pre-creasing. All that means is laying down all the necessary creases we'll need for folding the model. The next part is collapsing, which brings all of those creases together and creates this thing called the base. More often than not, this part doesn't really look like an actual finished model. And that's where shaping comes in, where we turn our base into a majestic dragon. I'll be using two different kinds of papers in this video. The first one being for pre-creasing and collapsing, and this is Kami paper, also known as regular origami paper. I'll be using this one because it's a little easier to see the creases I'm folding, and it's colored on one of the sides, so you can distinguish the colored and the white side of the paper. The size of this paper is 35 by 35 centimeters, but for this model I recommend something bigger than that. 50 centimeters or 20 inches would be ideal. The paper I'll be using in the shaping section looks like this. It's a mulberry paper and it's absolutely perfect for complex models such as this one. With that being said, let's get into folding. Let's finally start folding. The first step is to fold the model into 48 by 48 diagonal grid. And in order to do that, we have to divide paper into thirds. So let us do that first. I want you to go on a colored side of the paper and fold both diagonals. Unfold the paper, and now we'll bring those two corners together. This is equivalent to folding paper in half, but we won't fold all the way through. We are actually looking for a reference point, and we'll obtain it by marking this little spot here. Again, you don't have to fold all the way through. Maybe about 2 fingers width is enough. Unfold the paper. And now we'll connect those 2 points together. So from this point to this point. So I make a little mark over here and then pivot the paper until I reach the other corner. And then make slight adjustments until it's perfect, like this. You don't have to fold all the way through. We are marking this spot over here. You can see the main diagonal line, and that is the reference we are looking for. Unfold the paper, and now we'll rotate it so that our newly found reference point is on top like this. Bring this bottom corner to that point. And now bring this corner up to here. I'll rotate the paper so that it's easier to fold. And you'll find that when you do that, you're not messing up the corner beneath it, and that's because we've divided the paper perfectly in thirds. So if we unfold everything, you can see how this is perfectly divided into thirds. Alright, now we'll bring this corner to that point and do the same thing on the opposite end. So I'll rotate it again and then bring the corner to the line above it, like this. And now we'll do the same thing in this direction. So make sure that your lines are pointing this way. And now we'll fold this up so that this point over here meets this one, and you want to align the points on the right of the paper the same way we did on the left. As you can see, those 2 points are aligned, and now we can make a full crease. You might find it easier if you fold those corners in like that and then make the fold. And then you can unfold everything and now bring that corner up to this crease. Just like this. So now we've divided paper into thirds, and now let's do the sixths, and that's just folding the corners up to the lines we just created. Awesome, and now this is our sort of, grid base. From this point on, we've got all the reference points we need, and now it's a repetitive process of folding our corners to, well, this line, and then we skip one of the lines and then go on to the second one and just keep on making grid larger and larger. Now here's an important point. Whatever you do in this direction, we're also doing in the direction over here. Now we've divided paper into sixths, now we'll divide it again to get, the 12 equal parts, and then 24 equal parts, and then finally 48 equal parts. Now you want to alternate between the symmetry lines. So now we'll divide this section into 12 equal parts, and then we'll rotate the paper and do the same thing. You don't want to divide the paper in this direction into 48 parts and then move into another direction, and that's because paper keeps stretching, and we want to stretch paper equally in both directions of the symmetry lines. Okay, with that being said, let's keep on folding. Fold the corner up to this line. Unfold it, and now we're folding it to this one over here. Notice how we skip this one because we already have that crease, and now we'll just keep doing that until we ran out of creases to fold to. And you'll find that this one over here is the last one. Okay, now we'll just rotate the paper and do the same thing here. And now rotate it in this direction, and then we'll repeat all the previous steps. Cool. Alright, now let's divide each section into halves as well. Again, we fold this corner up to the line above. Unfold the paper. Now we skip this line and move up. And we keep doing that until we run out of lines. Rotate the paper, and then we'll do the same thing in this direction. Now rotate the paper this way and do all the previous steps. We now have 24 by 24 grid. Now I'll turn the paper around, and here's my favorite part when it comes to folding grids, and here's what we're going to do. We are essentially doing the same thing, but on the white side, but there are certain things that will make your life way easier. So I like to start off by making mountain fold along this first crease, and then I sort of bring it to the line next to it. Now we just keep on doing that until our paper gets too thick. So let me just bring this corner here. So you can just keep on doing that until it gets too thick, and once that happens, so let's say about now, because again we really want to have precise, nice, clean folds, you just unfold everything and keep on doing the same thing from that point on. You can keep gathering the layers like this, but I personally find it a little easier to just, you know, fold this like that, unfold it, and then just move on to the next crease. And you'll find it's a lot faster than, you know, folding the corners forward. So now we'll just keep on doing that until we reach the end. Or in this case, the diagonal line. You can keep on going up to this point, but I like to, you know, sort of rotate the paper and do the same process as I did here. So I've reached the first end point. Now rotate the paper and do the same thing here. Rotate the paper and repeat the steps. Alright, now that we got 48 by 48 grid, we can move to adding some other creases that will help us complete this pre-creasing process. Now, if you haven't already, you should totally check the description of this video out. There you'll find a full crease pattern of this dragon, and you can see there are like, let's see, black and gray lines. The black ones represent the mountain folds, and the gray ones are valley folds. This will help us a ton when it comes to collapsing in the next step. You will also find a pre-creasing guide, which we'll use right now. So let me show you how to read that. The gray lines over here represent the grid we've just done. As for the red lines, those are the ones we're going to do now, and the blue lines will follow. You'll also find the numbers over here. 11 represents the number of units, same goes for 5 and other numbers. So if I counted from this point on, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on and so forth until we get to 11th unit, and that's where this red crease starts. And those are all rectangular. You go 5 units up, because there's 5 over here, And that is part of the reason why this method is called box splitting. You can find those rectangles, boxes, or any way you want to look at them. As for adding the lines, you can go on the white side of the paper and make valley creases, or you can go to the colored side of the paper and make mountain folds. This is my personal preference, and I think you'll find it's probably the best option out there. Now for the sake of this video, will be drawing the creases on the colored side up so you can see them easily, and it will help us when it comes to collapsing. But if this is your actual final fold, you shouldn't be doing that. You can do that on the white side if you like, but we want to avoid doing that so those lines don't show in the final model. Alright, let's start at this corner over here. First, we'll count 11 units from that point on. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And I'll just mark the 11th one over here. Now I'll be drawing directly on the paper. And from that point on, we go 5 units up. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, and finally 5. Right over here. And then from that point on, we just make a straight crease right there. Again, you don't really need to draw those. I'll do it for the sake of this video. When I'm actually folding, I'm just making creases and not using any marks. And now we'll repeat that on the opposite side. Now we'll go 8 units up from this corner. So if this is 5, we can just add 3 more. It's 1, 2, 3. And I'll just add a little mark right there. And this one goes from that point all the way to the main diagonal. There we go. Now we'll do the same thing on the other side, but since this is the main diagonal, we can just reflect this crease above that line and just go straight there. Now we'll move to this corner over here. We'll count 8 units from the top. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And make the crease that goes from that point to the diagonal line. I'll repeat the same thing on the other side. Now go 1 unit down and do the same thing. From this point over here, we'll go 2 units to the right. 1, 2. So right over here, and then go 4 units up. First one, second one, third one, finally 4th one. And now from that point, go 4 units to the right. So there we go, that's the 4th unit. And now go all the way across. Okay, we'll do the same thing on this end. 2 units from this point. So 1, 2, and now go 4 units to the left. Now go 4 units down, and then go over here. Now, as you can tell, we've got all the red creases from this pre-creasing guide. And now we'll start adding the blue ones. Now, for the blue ones, I can't really draw them because those are angular bisectors. So what you're really doing is just folding that edge onto that line. And we'll start simple from this point. So here's the 9th unit from the top, and then the 10th one is right below it. So if this is the 9th one, 10th one is right over there. And all you have to do is fold the paper over like that, using the grid lines, and now fold this edge onto this one. I'll rotate the paper so that it's a little easier to fold. Now you can count how many units down, well, to the left you have to go, but I'll just make just a little larger crease across, and I'll stop when I hit this point over here. I'll unfold the paper and do the same thing on the other side. So here's the 10th one, right over there. And by looking at the crease pattern again, it seems you can stop as soon as you hit the first black line, and not the second one. That was my mistake. But it doesn't really make a difference, so that's good. Alright, now I'll just add the black lines. According to the crease pattern, that one should stop right over there. Now we'll move to this one. This one should start right here. That's the 6th unit. This is the 5th one, and the 6th one is right there. And we'll do the similar thing, but this time you're folding over in this direction. And the cool thing about that is it's symmetrical on both sides. So now when you make an angular bisector here, this one is pretty small, so you can stop right around there. You got this folded already, and you can do the same thing on the other side. Now we'll move on to this corner over here. You can tell from the blue lines that those are part of this section over here. Now, instead of turning the paper around and adding those creases manually, what I'd like you to do is start folding over the black lines. So now that we've got those black creases that we should have at the end, we should start making mountain folds along them. Now, you can just pinch the paper like this and then make the lines in this fashion, or you can turn the paper around and kind of fold it over. Use your grid lines as reference points and make your creases. So I'll just go through the whole crease pattern and add mountain folds where the black lines are. Now we'll make a mount fold right over here. And using this triangle over here, we'll perform a fold very similar to the one that you do when you're folding like a Kawasaki rose or something like that. So we're just pushing the paper in and using the black lines as reference points and making mound folds that extend from the corners of the square. We'll do the same thing here. And you'll find that the paper will flatten by itself like this. And I'll fold this flap to the left. And now I will do the same thing on the right. There we go. So now we got two flaps over here. Now we're not collapsing just yet, but this is the step that will help us add the additional creases that we need. Have your paper this way, and I'll zoom in over here. And now we'll just fold grid in half like this. I'll bring this edge onto the crease above it. Unfold, and then bring this one to this grid line over here. So you're basically just folding it in half. Once again, unfold the paper, and I can fold this whole flap to the other side, and we'll repeat the same thing on that one over here. It's much faster to add the creases that we need this way. And the moves, or well, the creases we've just used, the steps, are part of the collapsing process later on. So if you manage to do that, you're off to a good start to collapsing the model. Now we'll just unfold everything. And you unfold it just by pulling those two apart, and the paper will unfold automatically. We'll focus on this area once again. I'll add the creases we've just made. Now from the top corner over here, we'll count 5 small units. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And now from this point on, we'll make a crease that goes across like that. You can also obtain it by making mountain fold here and mountain fold here, and then just bringing those two edges together by aligning them like this. And now from those 2 points, we got lines that go down. That go down like this, and then we can make mound folds along those lines. We also need to fold the little units over here. You can just fold them in half like this. And we're missing a couple of more. So here's the first one, here's the second one, and now we can fold that in half to obtain the middle line, and do the same thing over here. Cool. There are two more additional folds we need to add, and those are located right here. Look for this point. Go all the way to the edge of the paper, and then go one whole unit up. So remember, that's not half a unit, but it's like 2 of half units or a single normal one. So add big black dots right over here. We'll fold over it like that. And make an angular bisector by folding this edge onto this one. And you don't really have to go much. You can just stop as soon as you pass this first line. Unfold and do the same thing on the right. And that's it, we're all set for collapsing. This is how the pre-creased paper looks like. And now we'll bring all of those creases together and form the base. I'm super excited, let's start collapsing the model. First step, you need to have your paper oriented the same way mine is. But before we go into that, I want to explain the crease pattern here. This section, which has a lot of little tiny, well, grid lines, flaps, whatever lines, represents the head of the model. And this one over here is the tail, and we got 2 pairs of legs on each side. And we'll start off by collapsing the tail area. You have to locate this point over here, which is an intersection between the grid line that runs through this point and 2 lines over here. We'll make a valley fold along that line. And now make a valley fold right over here, that's the second line. And now we'll repeat the same thing, but instead of folding this over and folding it down again, you can also just make a mound fold along the second crease and just split it up to the one above, like this. You'll notice that we have 2 triangles on each side. Now we'll make a mound fold along the symmetry line, like this. You can, well, tell that it's a symmetry line because it'll be symmetrical once we do that. Just like this. And now we'll do the tail area. And if you take a look at the crease pattern, it's essentially just a bird base, so that's what we're going to do now. Fold this corner up to this point. If you've done bird bases before, which I'm sure you have, this will be pretty easy. Unfold. Now you need to make a valley fold along this crease by opening this area and then flatten them out. Now fold edges to the middle crease. Those are just pre-creases for the bell fold. And we'll do the same thing on the left side. And now bring the paper up and push the edges inwards. We're making this part of the bird base. Now I like to just fold this down and then fold it back again. Now rotate the paper. Now we'll fold this over, and you'll notice that we already have a crease that runs right around here, but it's not, you know, present on our current paper, and that's why we'll just fold it up using this crease from behind and creating a new crease on this particular layer, just like that. And now you're going to fold this one back, and now you can use, well, this crease as a reference. You're essentially folding along that one and then folding it up again. Now here's the thing, you'll notice this little tip doesn't go all the way to here, it stops around halfway, and that's perfectly fine. And that happens because this model is a mixture between 22.5 and box splitting, and that's why creases don't lie perfectly on the grid. I'll just rotate the paper and repeat the same thing over here. So you're just folding this over using the existing crease, then folding it back, and then folding it up again. And then unfold everything. I'll fold this down, and now we're going to do an open sync using the creases we just created. So pull the paper apart and open this section a little bit. And we're going to make mount folds starting from this point on. So here's the first one. We'll make a mount fold along this crease. And along this one. And now start doing valley folds and then bringing the paper in. We're using the creases we already have. No new creases are created while doing this. And this is the last section. And flatten the paper. Now let's repeat the steps on this side. Now instead of, you know, just spreading this part over here, I'm going to turn the paper around and fold it over like this. The only reason I'm doing that is it makes it a little easier to do this step from the other side. Well, yeah, but that's just a personal preference, so you can do it on the other side as well. Now fold the flap up, like this, and then I'll fold everything to the left, well, this part over here, so you'll find that you're not really able to fold this to the left. Actually, that's what we're going to do now. It's similar to the bird base part we did earlier. I'm going to open this section, fold it along the valley fold over here, and then flatten everything. So we are using the black lines we drawn earlier. And we have to flatten this little triangle over here. Like this. And if you turn the paper over, everything will lie flat perfectly. I'll come back to this side. Alright, now we're going to do a reverse fold along this first grid unit. So it's along this one. We start by making mount fold on this part of the paper. Mount fold goes all the way through. And then doing the same thing on this side. And now before flattening everything down, we're going to do another reverse fold along the next crease. And this time we're making a valley fold, and this big line becomes a mountain fold. And this is how that looks like. Let's do the same thing on the left side. Again, start by folding, making a mountain fold along that first grid line, and then doing it over here. And now doing a reverse fold along those lines. Now locate this point over here. We're going to start making a mountain fold right over here, and you're just gonna start pushing the paper like that. And now hold this part with your thumb here and your index finger, and then push this part of the paper. And you will see that this will automatically start to go up like this. And you'll create this little triangle here. And the same thing happens on the other side. So our goal is to flatten this down like this. And now once we got that, we're going to make a mountain fold along this crease like that, and I'll start doing the same thing on the other side. And if we follow this through, the paper will flatten. And this is how that looks like. And now we'll just start doing the same steps over and over again until we run out of folds. So make a mountain fold along this crease over here. So this is just basic box splitting stuff. Very repetitive, so I'll show you the first couple. So it's like the steps we did before, doing a reverse fold. And then another one. This time using valley folds. And you'll see this distance over here gets bigger and bigger. And we're going to keep doing that until, well, if we ran out of folds. The last one's going to be over here. Now you'll find that the mountain folds of our paper are the actual mountain folds we need, so make sure you're not reversing valley folds and doing any strange stuff like that. We're going to end up with the strip that is 1 unit long on each side. So let me repeat that on the other. Make a mountain fold over here. And then valley folds. And then it's symmetrical. And now just keep doing that till the end. Now you might find them easier if you open this part of the paper and do them all at the same time. I personally like to use this method. The other one is more suitable for diagramming the models, but when it comes to collapsing, this one's a little easier. So we are making this triangle shape over here. Now you can fold this like that, or you can just leave it open. Doesn't really matter. And flatten everything. And I'll repeat everything on the left side as well. Alright, now that both sides have been completed, let's move on to legs. So, just put your paper down like this and it will automatically, start spreading. And spread this portion until you reveal this rectangle. And we'll start off right at this corner, where the line begins, and make a mound fold along this crease. And you'll find that this crease hits the black line here. As soon as that happens, you can do box splitting stuff over here, which is just making mound folds where the mound folds are supposed to be and making valley folds, alternating between the two. So now we got this shape over here. And now let's just keep on making other lines here. Kind of open this up. And again, following the black lines and the direction of grid creases. Now when you come to this point where you finish with the black line, you can make a mound fold along this crease and just start cleaning it up until you get to the end. And now try collapsing everything together like this. And this way we get our first leg. I'll open this up for you once again. And it's pretty fun to do. And you can use your crease pattern as a reference when doing that. So we are right over here. We're just making the mounds and valleys. Now I'll fold everything together like this and repeat the same thing on this side. So now we've got two legs. Now let's reveal the other two. I'll start with this one. So start spreading this portion of the paper and make a mound fold along this crease over here. You might want to hold this part of the paper as you do that. And then I'm going to make a mound fold along this one. And now our goal is to connect this point with this point over here. So we're just making a mound fold between the 2 points. Like that. And now, push this part of the paper, make a valley fold along this crease, and now make a mound fold along this one. And you'll see that as you do that, you're automatically going to create some valley folds over here. Now this section of the crease pattern seems pretty complicated, and this is indeed the correct way to do that, but in order to obtain those creases, you have to spend a lot of time, you know, figuring out the angles and whatnot. So what we're going to do here is make a mouthful here and now try flat folding the paper in this section. Now, some of you might consider this cheating or whatever, but if you wanted, you could actually find true angles for those folds. But what I'm going to do here is just squish this part until my fingers reach the layers. And now we're just going to fold it down. And I'll show you how it looks like in a second. Now, since this part is flat, if you open this up, you're actually going to find creases and not some, you know, curved folds or whatever. And if you look at the crease pattern, it will look extremely similar to what's drawn over here. Alright, that's it. So now we got 3 legs. Now let's do the one over here. Again, start by folding a mount fold over here, this time on the right, and then doing the mount fold along the other 22.5 crease here. And now we're making a fold starting from this point up to here. It'll help you a lot if you keep this part together. Like this. So now I'll just grab all of those layers. So now we got a mountain fold over here. Just pushing the paper from behind. And now we're just bringing the creases together. Like this. And it'll help you out if you just try to flatten the model like that. You don't really need to be pushing to this point. Like this. So here are the things you should look for, and those are, you want to bring all of those layers on an even level. So you don't want them to be spreading out like this, but be nicely stacked onto each other like that. And now I'm going to fold both legs up and then fold them down again. And that's it. Now we got all the legs, and we can move on to the head section. Let's start collapsing the head. Now this part of the model, most of the collapsing will be done by doing multiple creases simultaneously. The paper won't be flat for most of the time, but you shouldn't worry about it. That's completely fine. So let's start with spreading the paper like this. And what we have to do now is deal with all the, you see the diagonal creases, the black lines we got here. And we'll start off at this little corner. Start by spreading the paper apart like that. And you want to locate the corner of this square over here and push the paper outwards like that. And now make a mountain fold along the crease that starts at the middle of that square edge over there. Now we're going to push the paper in and then flatten the model. Let me show you how that looks like. Like this. And we'll do the same thing on the other side. So start by spreading the paper and then pushing the paper from underneath like that. And we're making a mountain fold right over here. And now flat folding the other creases. Like that. And you can just bring everything together if you want, but we'll be spreading the paper once again and doing other creases. So locate this point which is the corner of this square over here. And we're going to make a mount fold along the crease that runs through the edge of the square. Like that. You don't have to make a crease that goes all the way through. This part is important, and as you do that, you'll see that it'll meet like this point over here, and now we're just making a mount fold, extending it like that, and bringing those two together. Alright, so this is how that looks like. Now, at the same time, we'll be doing the same thing on the right side, so spreading this apart, and you can start off by making a mount fold here. And now making a mount fold along the square borders like that. And then you can flat fold that part and flat fold that part. So now let's take this flap and fold it down like this. And I'll start making a valley fold over here. And as you do that, the paper will just naturally make a mount fold over here, since the creases are all in the right direction. And we're going to make a mount fold along this crease. And we're just following the edges of this drawn square. So making mount fold here, 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 and the valley folds inside. And that will just flat fold like that. And now we can bring this thing up like this. And if you manage to do that, then you're awesome. So this is how that looks like if I spread the paper a little bit and it flat folds like that. So let me just do that on the other side. So we start off by folding this flap down and now making a mount fold along this crease. And as we do that, we want to make mount folds along those creases like that. And here's a cool thing, you just make a mount fold along the symmetry line, and as soon as you know, boom, it flat folds. Now at this point you want to make a valley fold along the symmetry line of the model. So I'm just going to bring this flap down and then fold everything in half like this. Everything will fall flat. And I'm going to grab a couple of pegs to hold the paper together. Okay, now we'll fold those two flaps down. And open this part. So what we want to do is make a mount fold along this crease and along all the parts of the square we got there. So here's a mount fold here, here, and just extend it downwards. And we'll do the same thing on the other side. So once we do that, so make sure there's a mount fold here as well. Once we do that, to grab those two, flat fold like this, and then fold the flaps to the left. I'll just open this apart so you can see that again. So we got that. Started off by making a mount fold here, and a mount fold on the other side. Now you can spread the paper and complete the other creases. And now we're going to do open sinks along those little black lines we got there. So let's start with the first flap, which is here. I'm going to spread this apart, go with my finger underneath here, and make a first mount fold along the first black line. And then extend the crease downwards. Do the same thing on the right. And then just keep doing the box splitting folds until you've completed your OpenSync. Like this. Let's do the same thing on the left. And this will be how the OpenSync folds look like. Now, make sure that this flap is on the left. I'm going to fold it onto the middle line, like this. And then do a squash fold with the creases we just made. And now fold this one to the left. We're going to focus on this section over here, and we're going to spread this apart until we reveal this little fold here. Make a mountain fold along that black line, and starting from this point, we need to make a line that goes from that point to this one, which is where the middle line, the black line, ends. Now this is a really hard fold to get, but this is how it looks like. Okay. And now, having that mountain folded, you can just fold this in like that. And now, our goal is to make a valley fold starting at this point where our new crease meets the middle line, and just fold it in like that. And now at the same time, I'm just going to put my finger right over here and try to make a mountain fold along the grid line we got there, which is this one, and try to bring everything together. Now, this is probably the toughest part, to get it nice and clean. But this is how that is done. I'll show you that once again. So this is how it looks like. We started by making a mountain fold over here, and then making a line that goes from that point to the middle one. So you might find it a little easier if you do a mountain fold here first and then making this mountain fold. And now you just kind of fold this in, that way you create a third crease, and then look at the intersection between that new line and this middle line, and then make a valley fold from that point on to here. And you're just kind of, you know, air folding at that point. And then you just kind of do a rabbit ear to bring the creases together, and then just fold it flat. It's probably the hardest part of the model, like this is my least favorite part. But once you get to this point, you just do a reverse fold or like a swivel fold to finish the the eyes and ears. Now let's do everything on the other side. So we start off by making an angular bisector, folding this paper onto the middle line. And now doing a squash fold. And now folding this to the right and opening this part so that we reveal that black crease, making a mountain fold and making a line that goes from that point to this one. Like that. And once we got that line, we just flat folding this section. That way we get this new crease and we're looking for the line from that point to the black line. So you can just kind of fold this over like that and obtain that line. Now we're just folding this back, making a mountain fold along the grid line here. And then just folding everything flat. Like that. And finally doing a swivel fold. And then folding this down. And here's the last step of the model, and those are whiskers. And those are pretty easy to do. Now you just take those layers, spread them apart, and do a similar kind of a box splitting thingy we did over here, and make a mountain fold along the black crease. Like that. Now I'm keeping this portion of the paper over here, so I'm not just folding it behind, but I'm keeping it right here. And we'll start off by making valley fold, mountain fold, and doing the similar kind of folds we did over here. So once we come to this point, I like to fold this paper up and then make the mountain fold, valley fold, and just, you know, bring that corner together and now fold it down and then make two valley folds and flatten them all. And the only thing left to do is fold those little creases which form the toes. Now to start with the legs, we want to have the paper, the model oriented this way, and we're going to grab this corner right over here. They all look the same, and spread it apart. So now when you make, valley fold, mountain fold, and then another mountain fold, instead of making a mountain fold here, we're going to make a valley fold and then fold it over once again. So this way we get rid of the little snake pattern we got on our body. So once you get this, you want to make angular bisector here, unfold and do a swivel fold. And then repeat that until we ran out of white triangles. This way we're trying to get rid of color changes. So instead of pre-creasing, I sometimes Just like to free fold that. Like this, now the white parts are concealed. And let's repeat everything on the right. So start off with finding the corner of the paper, just right here, spreading it, folding those parts back together. And now instead of making a mound fold here, we are making a valley fold, and then just folding this down. And now let's do the triangles. Once we got this, grab one of the legs and make a valley fold that runs along the edge over here, which is essentially just a 22.5 line. And now fold it to the right using this edge as a reference. Unfold that. Now we're going to grab a leg from here, then split it apart. Take your finger and push right over here, bringing the paper up. And now we're making mound folds along the new angled creases. So here's the first one, the second one, and I'll do the same thing on the right. And now collapsing everything together. As for this part over here, you can fold the leg up like this and find the middle of that flap and then just squash fold that. And then fold it to the right again. Now let's spread this part once again. And now we're going to make mound folds along this crease and that crease. Like that. And once you got this, we want to push this portion of the paper right here and do the same thing on the other side. And you might find it's a little easier to do it on one side first and then bringing those two flaps together and then doing it on the other side. So once you got this, do another reverse fold by making rabbit ear creases to make the toes more narrow. Like this, and this is how the leg is supposed to look like. Now I'll repeat the same steps on the other legs. Now in the case of the upper ones, you'll find that you don't have this line as a reference point, but you have it on this side, so just use that side to fold that part over. And that's it, that's how the base of the model looks like. And now we can finally move on to shaping.